Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new PennyWise podcast from Lee Enterprises. I'm your host, Terry Barr. And I guess it may be an interesting thing to think about when you watch your kids playing video games to realize they could also be learning about handling their money. No kidding. Our guest today is going to help explain all of this and help you learn how to be able to talk to your kids about this topic as well. Welcome in Kimberly Palmer. Kimberly is the credit card and personal finance expert with NerdWallet. So happy to have her join us again for another episode. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Terry. Thank you so much for having me.
We love chatting with you, especially when it's a topic that can sort of twist a little bit of fun into learning about money. But I guess, first of all, I want to ask you, does this really work? Is this really something that parents could sort of grab onto when their kids are playing video games?
I think it is. And I know it is a little bit of a controversial statement to say so, but I discovered, because my own son, who's 8, just loves playing video games. And I discovered that if I do have certain conversations with him that come up naturally when he's playing these games, there is so much he can learn about money. And I think a lot of kids do have that opportunity. You can learn a lot as long as your parents are asking you certain questions and making sure you get those lessons.
So it is about not being embarrassed or shy or whatever the case may be as a parent to talk about money.
I think money can be so awkward and so uncomfortable for parents to talk about. And video games really give us this opportunity, this opener to have that conversation. So it's kind of an easy way to get into the topics of how we save, how we earn, all of those juicy things that we want our kids to think about. But, usually it's hard to bring up. It's hard to get them wanting to talk about that with us. So I think video games can be a way to do that.
Sometimes you wonder if the kids want to talk about it, but the parents on the flip side are a little shy about it. So you've put together some really great ideas to be able to sort of open up this topic. And the first one I want to ask you about is turning the game into an idea of how you can actually save money. How would you approach this?
Well, within a lot of these popular games, I'm thinking of things like Minecraft and Roblox. Yeah. There is a method of saving money, protecting your money. And they're not using the terms like banking that we use in personal finance, but that's really what they're talking about. So for example, my son will go mining. He calls it mining for diamonds, as they say when you're playing Minecraft, for example, or you might get some other kind of coal or all these things that are valuable within the game. And the kids playing the game have to figure out how to protect those things because there are other players, other forces out there within the game that can steal them, that can take them from you, they can become damaged. And so it's a good chance to ask, how do you protect what's important for you? Do you keep them in your chest is one method in the game? And it's really a metaphor, I think, for banking. And it can be a chance to talk about, well, how do you keep your allowance money safe? How do we keep our money safe? And it's a way to kind of seg into talking about banking and the whole concept of financial security and safety.
Okay. So does your son, for instance, does he actually pay attention to you when you're saying this to him, especially if he's in the middle of a game? Or do you suggest waiting? Or how do you kind of broach this topic?
It's such a good question. So how I did it, which seemed to work, is that as he was playing, I sort of sat down next to him and just watched. I just watched what he was doing. I maybe made some small comments that weren't trying to be too distracting. And then later on, when he was, off the screen, I think we were at dinner, I just had him explain, what's going on here? How are you keeping these things safe? I had heard him playing with a friend, and a friend had actually taken a diamond from him. So I was like, oh, how does that work? How do you make sure that doesn't happen? It is, and then I said something like, it is kind of like banking, when we put our money in the savings account, we know we're keeping it safe. It's like that chest you have in Minecraft. So I kind of just watched while he was playing, and then we had the conversation about money later.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, good idea. And it sounds like it really opened it up very honestly and easily. So thank you for that. I guess there are the rewards and the challenges in a game. What do you learn from those? You may have just given a great example where his friend took his diamond.
Well, I think this is really a metaphor for how we earn money in the real world. So
Right.
within these games, you can actually earn certain rewards. So you might go on a specific quest, you achieve that, and then you get a reward in some form. And that is kind of just like going to a job and, putting your work in and then getting paid. And then you, of course, want to keep that money safe. So it opens up that conversation. How do we earn money? What is worth it? Is the quest you're going on within Minecraft today, is that worth it? How hard is it? What do you have to sacrifice to achieve that? And so it opens up that line of questioning, which really I think is really making a child think about how we earn money and how we achieve things that are important to us and of value. So that opened up
Yeah.
a whole nother set of topics for us.
Okay. Can I ask, would it at the same time, and your son is 8, I have a nephew who's 7, give them, I don't want to call it chores because that will never work, but if they have some specific tasks or things to do where they can also earn real money and sort of learn this side by side with the game, is that a good idea?
I think that is such a great approach. And now, so my son will ask me if he can buy Robux, as they're called within the Roblox
Oh,
game, or
sure.
the currency within Minecraft. And whenever I want to make sure he understands, money is scarce. Even when we're talking about virtual money, it's still something you want to value. And so I give him ways he can earn that. And I think that's also a chance to have those conversations. So, for example, I might have him, it might be a traditional chore, like, doing all the dishes or something beyond his normal chores. Or it might be something that I want him to finish, 5 extra handwriting pages to practice his handwriting. So I'll give him that kind of task, just something so he feels like he's working for it. So he
Yeah.
internalizes that sense that, we work for things that we want.
It's so fascinating then to see how the real money given to him then can still turn around and he can use it and learn from the game as well. I wish we had this kind of thing when we were growing up.
I know, me
Wow.
too.
Mhm. And you talked about the value of money, but I know in putting together the 4 topics for parents to kind of dive into, value is one that sort of stands all on its own, doesn't it?
It really does. And
Mhm.
this really starts even when they're thinking about buying a new video game or planning for what video games they want. They have to really decide, are you going to save up all of your allowance money to buy that new game that you want? Or are you going to wait for your birthday to ask for it? And it just helps them, plants those questions of how do we plan for the things that we really want? And it's
Yeah.
similar to when you're playing within the game and you want a certain, I know my son likes buying, certain masks or a new sword for his character within the game. And how is he going to earn that? How far in advance does he have to plan? How much work does he have to put in to earn that? So I think it raises all of those questions.
There's your real life stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. And then your 4th tip is really the how to sort of drill it down. And that takes us back to that whole idea again of just being open to talking about money.
Exactly. A lot of these questions come down to making trade-offs, and what you want to give up now to achieve something later. And that really gets up back to the bigger questions about budgeting and how we pass those lessons on to our kids.
Mm.
So now I really try to go that extra step. This is something I learned from writing this article. I try to go the extra step and ask my son, when you saved for that and you did buy it, was it
Mhm.
worth it? Was it a good choice? What else could you have done with that money? And I hope that helps him think through these things that will then help him in the real world when he's dealing with real money.
I think as an adult, you're making me think through some of these things. It is a lesson that all of us can learn. And as adults, even speaking with other adults about money can be uncomfortable. So, what would you say when it is kids and adults trying to speak to each other on why money is such an important topic? What can we take away from what you learned playing with video games?
Well, for me, I think the biggest takeaway is that you want these conversations to be fun. You want your child
Yeah.
to want to talk to you about this stuff. And sometimes it's not easy to figure out how to do that. How do I make my son want to learn about budgeting? But if I do it in this context, if I use Minecraft as a metaphor and, bring up his game playing while I'm trying to bring up these questions, it makes the conversation more fun. I can tell he did enjoy talking to me about this. And so it did make it kind of a mutually enjoyable thing instead of a topic I was, dreading bringing up.
Oh, I'm sure. And you don't want to bring it up every time he's playing, I assume,
Right.
but every now and then a little reminder.
I think so. Every time he asks me for money to buy more Robux, usually the answer is no, but, occasionally the answer is yes. And that's when we have these bigger conversations.
Oh, and with school really just getting underway, what a perfect conversation to have at this time of the year. Oh my gosh. Kimberly Palmer, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for sharing all these great tips. And hopefully all the parents out there won't be afraid to take this topic and just dive into it with their kids.
Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Again, Kimberly Palmer, she is with NerdWallet, their credit card and personal finance expert. And of course, join us for PennyWise, a new episode every single Thursday. You can also listen to all of our past episodes wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. I'm Terry Barr and saying goodbye for now from PennyWise Podcast and Lee Enterprises. And again, thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.